part of it. You fuel the show with those tweets, so keep them coming right here on Good Morning Football. Hey, coming in hot. We're presented by McDonald's. Little Mickey D's here in NYC. March 15th. My name's Kay. Nate Burleson.
What's up?
Okay, hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I like that heart.
You know, I'm just giving you all the love I can today on this Friday.
Okay, I like the sound of
take
that.
It.
We also have
I
Peter
kissed Kyle
Schrager
this morning.
He did?
And Kyle Brent. Well, I didn't see
didn't
that.
even
Right
budge.
up and kissed me. And I went right to HR. That's right. See you later, Burleson. He gone. He gone.
While we are still together on the show, pending whatever investigation's going into that, I don't think any of us, even with that kiss, had a better night or a better time in the past 24 hours than this guy, Golden Tate. This is from his Instagram because he's one of our best friends. Of course he did this, pulling the Cuba Gooding Jr. Show me the money. I loved it.
The commitment here.
Look at this. He got the tie.
He got the same sweatpants folded down just like Cuba did. He nailed every... No, not show you the money. Show me the money.
Look at that, though. I love this with his 81 jersey from the Seahawks
Yes.
back.
I love it, man. Players going viral with the clips, man. Mimicking the movie.
And he's got a reason to do that, of course. It is a $23.5 million guarantee. It's 4 years, $37 million. And I read a clause already. I was going through the fine-tooth comb through the contract that he actually, part of that 23-plus guaranteed money is him being on Good Morning Football at least once a week.
Where is he? Let's go. Come on now.
I mean, remember, Marvin Jones brought us cupcakes.
He did.
Like
Bunt cake.
Bunt cake. What are you bringing to the table,
Yeah,
Golden?
I don't know.
We're happy for him.
Find out soon, though. At some point, I thought TP was going to get involved, right? TP, the brother. Say hello to Jim. Hello, Brother McGuire. Like, that's the sequel. I can't wait.
I got ants, Jerry!
Yeah, we got ants and TP's. We got a flood.
Love that. I'm sure Golden will pick up a copy of this, the back of the New York Post today, saying Giants signed wide receiver Tate and Marcus Golden tickets. Gotta love that. We'll talk about the East Coast right now in the lead block.
Lead block.
Biggest move in the NFL was the blockbuster trade between the G-Men and the Browns for Odell Beckham Jr. So here's what he tweeted and continued to make headlines yesterday. I'm not a Cancer, I'm a Scorpio. Sorry for the confusion. So let's get more insight on this cryptic tweet. Here's our very own Kim Jones.
Good morning, Kay. As you probably saw, Odell Beckham Jr. had a little fun yesterday on social media, saying he's not a Cancer, he's a Scorpio. Well, clearly Beckham knows that there's some knock against him, that somehow he wanted out of New York and somehow he's bad for a football team. First of all, let's clear this up. He never wanted out of New York or out of the Giants. He is now embracing his new opportunity in Cleveland, but he always envisioned himself staying a New York Giant. As for the teammate part, I've heard from multiple teammates of Beckham, current and former, over the last few days, thanking me essentially for sticking up for him. I was simply reporting what I knew to be true. But here's this from Robert Ayers, who played 9 years in the NFL and for 3 teams, including the Giants. He replied to NFL Network's posting of my video about Odell by saying he's one of the best teammates I ever had. He also said the people that don't know you at all usually have the most opinions. That's probably about right. Kay?
Appreciate your thanks so much, Kim, over the past couple of days. So much insight, personal stories, especially from Kim Jones, who's working with him day in, day out at the facility through good times and bad. So Beckham, he didn't want to get out of New York, right? But he was traded. Then the Giants signed Golden Tate, who we just saw celebrating. That is a receiver who will be 31 before the season starts. How do we make all this make sense, especially with a really high price tag for Golden Tate if they're trying to rebuild?
It's hard to make sense of it, Kay, because a few days ago, I thought with getting rid of Vernon, getting rid of Odell, getting rid of Collins, you're for sure rebuilding. You have an aging quarterback. You're planning for the future. I'm not saying you're tanking like the New York Knicks, but you might be tanking like the New York Knicks. And then all of a sudden, they signed Golden Tate, who is a guy that's going to come in. He's going to be in the right place. He won't go to the media and do an interview and talk about the quarterback. He's a company guy. He's going to do things the right way, which means you're trying to complement Eli and help the young wide receiver and Sterling Shepard. So all of a sudden, you're not rebuilding. You know, what I like to do is get the temperament of society, the temperament of the fan.
Yeah.
I went on date night with my wife last night.
Okay.
2 individuals came up to me. One guy, hey, how you doing, man? I love the show. First question I asked, who's your team? Giants fan. How do you feel? Good riddance. Good riddance with Odell. Couldn't stand him. He wasn't the guy that we wanted. He didn't do it our way. I'm glad that he's gone. I said, really? And he said, yes. Stuck to his guns. I thought, okay, wow. I haven't heard that from a fan yet. I go to the restaurant. I sit down. Guy comes up to me, shakes my hand, gives me a big hug. How you doing? What, same thing. What's your team? Giants. How do you feel? What in the hell are the Giants doing? I don't get it. We have Eli Manning. He's aging. We don't have his backup. You get rid of Odell Beckham, and then you sign Golden Tate? I don't understand what we're doing from management all the way down to the sideline. So for me, the confusion isn't just me as a former player looking at the Giants. It's also these fans who really don't know what to think right now. And usually, Strays, you know, fans kind of have a pulse of what the team is doing. Right now, I think there's mass confusion about the Giants, and we're not going to see what this is all about until the season starts.
It's interesting because Nate's got a point. I feel like, yeah, we're going down a road. We're like, all right, finally, let's tear the thing down and build it up. And then yesterday's signing financially makes so little sense when you think about age and numbers. And then I looked back at Dave Gettleman's end-of-the-year press conference back on January 2nd, talking to local reporters, and he's addressing them, and he kept on harping on the word culture, culture, culture. And then he said, you know what? Do you know who scored the most points in the NFC East this season? As bad as we were, the Giants scored more points without Odell Beckham on the field for much of the season, with Eli being so terrible. The Giants, led by Saquon Barkley, scored more points than the Eagles, the Redskins, and the Cowboys. And at the end of this press conference, they said, okay, talk about your roster, what you're most excited about. And he brought up Jonathan Stewart. And he said, do you know what Jonathan Stewart brought to this locker room? He brought leadership, he brought cohesion, and it was guys like Jonathan Stewart that made this team better than last year where the locker room was a mess. To me, those are telltale signs. That is easy to read through, and it's, hey, it's all about the guy, not about the player or the fantasy stats. And Golden Tate is one of those guys. Golden Tate is an absolute leader, and whereas Odell Beckham might score more points and be a better athlete, Golden Tate might fit the New York Giants better than Odell Beckham. That sounds crazy, but for what they're trying to build and for the leadership in that locker room, he might be of greater value to them. Last thing from me, Saquon, Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, and Golden Tate. That's a pretty good bunch of skill players right there.
No question.
Take the Odell thing out of it. That's still a good group. They can compete with this team, and I think they might have a better locker room.
That's great. I respect it. I don't remember a ton of Jonathan Stewart highlights last year, though. In fact, I don't remember any. It's fun to watch the Giants fans confused because I feel like the house was in disorder. It was overcrowded. So what do? You have a garage sale. And you're out there, and you and your wife are having a garage sale, and it's going great. Things are leaving. You're free in space. It feels like you're dropping weight. And then in the middle of the garage sale, your wife goes across the street to the other family's garage sale and brings home an air hockey table. And it's like, honey, we're trying to get stuff out. Well, it's a nice air hockey table. The kids are going to love it. And I can't really cast judgment on her because I'm running the thing, and I refuse to part with the 18-year-old Sharper Image massage chair called Eli Manning that I still think has got some good lumbar action. I like the deep dish. I think it's still got some things going. Honey says, why don't you get rid of that chair? I said, why don't we get rid of everything? This whole thing, this hashtag rebuild, will all be determined whether or not they're doing it in the first round of the draft in Nashville, because that's the massage chair round for the Giants.
Talk about it.
What are we doing?
It sounds like they're happy, though. She's got an air hockey table. The kids do, too. You still got your massage chair. We don't know anything about what they're doing except that it's sort of obvious they feel, as Schrager's saying, their team is better off with Golden Tate and some free money, or freed up money with the trade and without Odell Beckham Jr. They made these moves. And also, you know, when you're playing a board game or chess with somebody and you're anticipating their move, and usually, especially with a game like chess, you know what they're going to do where there's very limited. And somebody goes rogue and you're like, what are you doing? You're playing blackjack and you're like, why are you hitting there? What are you doing? That makes the opponent dangerous, I think. So it's a weird way with the draft, which you mentioned. We don't know what they're going to do, and they can be the team now that goes and flips the table because are they going to try to make a trade for Rosen? I'm hearing that. That's potential. Could they move up? Could they move down? What are they valuing? We don't know which road they're on, and I think that makes them sneaky dangerous.
I like it. I like it.
Or they just take a defensive tackle. You know what I mean? They might.
Now to the other New York team, the Jets. Their newest running back, Le'Veon Bell, spoke yesterday for the first time since joining Gang Green, and he defended his decision to sit out all of last season with the Steelers.
I think, the decision I made was, a decision I would do all over again, just because of the fact that, I don't regret anything that, had happened. Obviously, everything has happened for a reason up to this point. But who can say, if I played last year, if I do go out there and play on a one-year franchise tag, if I do get hurt, do I end up, sitting in this position today, being with the New York Jets on a beautiful deal.
We finally hear from him, Nate. What'd you think?
You know, I love the honesty. I don't think he was really diving into everything we wanted to hear. For me, him wanting to be paid as a running back and a wide receiver, showing the duplicity in his position and the touches that he was getting, even though other guys in the league were getting paid so much more, that was the main reason why he set out. And I think he proved his point. And the fact that he is on another team and he is in a position where you want the rock, well, Lev, you're going to get the rock now. I think it's great. And I can appreciate the fact that we're starting to hear him instead of us talking for him.
I busted Lev's chops a lot over the years. I made fun of him, things like that. I haven't been his hugest fan. But I just look at it this way. I respect that he bet on himself. You know, during that year off, what could have happened? He could have gotten hurt. He could have gotten fat. He could have gotten in trouble. We could have never heard from Le'Veon Bell again. He just goes off the rails, and what a terrible debacle. And now he's in New York City with a new contract, and he's got his self-respect, and he's got a team behind him. And I've come full circle with it. I think it was an incredible power move, and I think he is a massive Pied Piper, and there will be many to, quote, pull a Le'Veon Bell moving forward as soon as this offseason even.
I think he's going to be a Pied Piper in the Jets locker room, too. I think he walks in there and he stands for something. He's got skins on the wall. He put up 1,800 yards 3 years in a row. Like, here I am.
Right.
Let's go. And all of a sudden he goes from being, you know, not the second, but the third guy in Pittsburgh to being the first guy in the Jets organization. And they're over the moon about it. Yeah. So they're excited. They got him on. They view it as a discount for what they thought they were going to have to pay. For Le'Veon Bell, I go back and forth on the money thing, whether we should care or not. It's not our money. It's his money, and it's not our money to spend. So if they pay $17 million to C.J. Mosley, who are we to be outraged? The Jets had $100 million in cap space. They had to spend it somewhere. They got the number one inside linebacker on the free agent market, got the number one running back. They're looking at it as, we did a great job this free agency. Who are we to talk about other people's money? I think Le'Veon Bell, we won't know if he's truly happy until the end of the season, but I think right now he can look back on this year and say, I'm fine with it. Let's go.
I would think a lot of players in the league and fans look at it as he held out to take a pay cut. Like, that's a simple way, I think, to look at it if you are looking at the numbers and the money. But you think that other players are going to follow suit?
I do. And listen, if I was DeMarcus Lawrence and I saw some of these contracts were just signed, a Trey Flowers and D Ford, and I play a premier position and I'm younger, I'm thinking a really long and hard about taking a gap year, or as I call it, a cap year, and saying, you know who the hell I am? I'm a defensive pass rusher. I'm worth this much. See in a year.
Risky business, but I like it. How about a veteran, 6-time Pro Bowler, Earl Thomas in Baltimore?
How about it?
He's going to be in that Ravens uniform.